Back on the Rob Dibble Show with Ben Darnell in your afternoon drive. Kirk Kaplan on the ones and twos. Bobby B Sports Tech Hotline has Joe Valerio. He's got a podcast about the Chiefs. Believe in the Chiefs, it's called. And we're going to talk some super game with Mr. Valerio. Joe, how are you?
Hey, Rob. How you doing, buddy? I'm doing great. I'm here in Philly, right, which is crazy, right?
Yeah, that is crazy.
But
you went to the University of Penn, right? So you probably lived down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I grew up in Philly. Was born in South Philly. Lived here my whole life, and then moved back here because my wife and I went to high school together, and our whole family's here. So yeah, so it's we're gonna have cheesesteaks on the left side of the cheesesteaks and hoagies on the left side of the basement room. We're watching the game, and then Kansas City barbecue on the other.
Nice.
And our guests are gonna pick their team by the food they eat. So.
All right, so Joe, let me ask you, what's the name of the bar?
Big Charlie's.
Big Charlie's. You ever hear of Big Charlie's?
Oh, my gosh, have I heard of Big Charlie's. 11th and McKean. You know, my dad grew up and lived most of his life not far from Big Charlie's. I wasn't born very far from Big Charlie's, and I lived in South Philly until I was about 4 years old.
So you know it's a Chiefs bar, right?
Yeah,
and it's not going to have a Super Bowl party because the guy said he sold too many tickets. Do you believe that?
I think they're just trying to avoid conflict. Myself.
Exactly.
It's not, and I think it's not even so much worried about what Eagles fans are going to do because they're all Eagles fans too. I mean, the guys are all Eagles fans. I mean, they're all Philly guys, but they're more Chiefs fans than they are Eagles. But they're just not going to do it. I think they're afraid of what they'll do, right? Like they're protecting themselves. I think. Than the people who are going to be hanging around out there. So yeah, sad that they can't do it.
All right, we always love having you on this time of year, especially just to give us the beef report. Offensive line, defensive line, starting with the O-lines. Kansas City, a little bit more stout, it feels like, or at least healthier than the Philadelphia Eagles. Break these two fronts down, and who has the advantage going into Sunday?
Yeah, they're well. First of all, they're very similar lines, right? I mean, they're maulers. They like to get after it. They have a passion for protecting their quarterbacks. They're just. I think they're the top two offensive lines. I'm not just being partial because I'm both an Eagles and a Chiefs fan, but I think they're the two best lines in the league. Now, like the whole Chiefs team, the Eagles line is got a couple things in there. Lane Johnson's, hobbling around a little bit. He put off surgery. But I think tackle to tackle, to be honest, I think the Eagles actually are a little bit stronger if you look at every single guy down the line. I think if they're all healthy, if all five are healthy, I think the Eagles don't really have a weak link. Orlando Brown Jr. and Andrew Wiley, the two tackles, there have been some times when they struggle with pass protection, and I think the injuries to the Eagles, given some of the weakness of the Chiefs line, makes them pretty much puts them on a very level playing field as a unit. My thing that I'm telling listeners and people that I've been talking to this week is like, don't watch the quarterback and the running back on some pass plays, because my family yells at me because they're like, "Didn't you see that pass?" My daughter will say, "Didn't you see that pass, Dad?" I'll be like, "No, I was watching the line." Like didn't you see what Patrick Mahomes did? Didn't you see what Patrick Mahomes or Jalen Hurts did on that play? I'm like, "No, I was watching the blocking scheme," and they like yell at me. But like, here's what I tell people to do: watch the centers and where they're declaring the strength of the defense, right? Which is what centers do in pass protection. Now, sometimes they do it as a decoy, or they do it as a dummy call, like so to make it look like it's a pass. So when they're calling out the strong side linebacker, which is the direction that the center is going to go if he's uncovered, right, in pass protection. So you get three guys on two with the ability to pick up a blitzer, right? And then on the other side of where the center is, you're going to have now 2-on-2, one-on-one matchups, right? So that's what I want people to watch. Watch where the center points or where the quarterback points, because he's telling the center where to go. And then watch those other two linemen on the other side of that slide, and that's where you're going to see the chess match being played, because they're going to try to single up Chris Jones, and they're going to try to single up Hassan Reddick for the Eagles, and that's where the magic is going to happen for these defenses, is who can get the best one-on-one matchups away from the center slide. So that's something I would really watch for, because that to me is going to be a real key to the game.
Talking to Joe Valerio, former NFL player, went to the University of Penn. You were 6'5", 295 in your prime. I mean, you know, whether it's Fred Johnson or Lane Johnson, I mean, these guys are 6'7", 325, 6'6", 325. And obviously it's all about strength, pushing and pulling and stuff like that. What should we be watching for? You know, when some of these guys get beat, almost they don't get called for like the holds when they're standing up, but when they tackle somebody, why are they getting called for holding on certain plays where they're basically taking down a guy, and then other plays they're pushing guys down and they don't get called for it?
Yeah, as long as you keep your hands inside the frame of the defender, you're going to be just fine. Like, as long as you don't allow a hook to come on the outside or to get your arms outside, like we used to call it, you know, lobster clawing, or, you know, as long as you don't grab and hook on that way, if you keep your hands inside, you can grab as much cloth as you want. And when you pancake a guy and you keep your hands inside, you can press him down into the ground. As long as you're holding those pads, that's fine. They're never, you know, Howard Mudd, my offensive line coach in Kansas City, said, hey, it's why God gave you thumbs. Right, so don't think that you can't hold and grab some chest pad in there and pancake a guy. That's going to be fine. You get your hand on a guy's hip and press his hip when he goes to the outside and try to collapse his hip a little bit. You know, that's going to be fine. It's the hooking that they're really looking for, and the tackling. I mean, one time I remember, oh my God, we were playing the Raiders out in Oakland, and I was going against Howie Long the entire game, and I mean, I was a young player. He was at the end of his career, and I was tackling him. I was horse collaring him. I was dragging him down. But we were losing by like three or four touchdowns, so nobody was calling anything. And finally, Howie goes up to the official. He says, "Mr. Official," he said, and he never complained, by the way. He was so professional. He goes, "Mr. Official, 73 held me on that play and got away with it." And I walked up between him and the official, and I said, excuse me, guys, with all due respect, I'm holding Howie on every play and getting away with it. So let's just be clear. And so, you know, look, there's just going to be times when they're going to call it, and there's going to be times they don't. And as long as you're keeping your hands inside, you know, fans need to stop getting all up in arms, and other players, and I see them tweet, "Oh my God, that was holding." No, it's not. Like, it has to be flagrant, and it has to change the trajectory of the defender and where he's going, right? The tug when he's going to make a play, and you tug him and you pull him back. No, just finish him in that direction. You know, that's where they're going to call it. They're not going to call it when, you know, you're just grabbing some cloth.
Joe, one of the key injuries I'm worried about is Travis Kelce. We heard on Saturday before the AFC Championship the dude could barely walk, and for him to perform like he did was more miraculous for some than what Patrick Mahomes was dealing with the high ankle sprain. What can you tell us about his health for Sunday, and how much of a hurt would it be to not have a 100% Travis Kelce against the Eagles?
Oh, to me, you know, when I think about Travis Kelce, I mean, I put him in MVP category, right? Because MVP, oh my God, they love their quarterbacks, don't they? But like MVP to me, when you break the word down, right, it's semantics, right? Like most valuable player, like, okay, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, I get it, but like, let's start putting some different categories into this thing where, like, if that player is not on your team, okay, are you going to win, or do you decrease your chances dramatically of winning? And to me, that is Travis Kelce. He is a most valuable player. Like, if he's not on the field and he's not 100%, or at least giving the appearance that he's 100%, like he did in that AFC Championship game, that Chiefs team is not the same, especially with this banged up receiving core they have, right? And really not a fantastic. Like, they don't have Derrick Henry. You know, they don't have Walter Payton or Barry Sanders back there, right? Point. Travis Kelce is the key to this offense. And I think Patrick Mahomes' career is relatively diminished if he doesn't have a healthy Travis Kelce week in and week out. So, yeah, I not having him would be critical to the Eagles' success, I should say, if he's not playing.
Joe, as always, thank you so much for your time, my friend, and we'll talk to you soon once the game's over.
My pleasure. Anytime. You got the cell, give me a shout anytime. Love catching up with you guys.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
All right, talk to you soon. Enjoy the game.
Thank you. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back with some Dibbles and Bits.